going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your SpazPhoenix, the YWC reality check here with your SummerSlam. That's what I was about to say, Survivor Series for some reason, I don't know why. But your SummerSlam Go Home 3-hour Raw review. Not a lot, but a few matches thrown on at the last minute. Tweaked my interest, not happy about all of them. But we did a heck of a good job of building to SummerSlam with this show, and with 3 hours we had no excuse not to, right? We started the show with a match, which is awesome. I love that. Punk versus Show, right at the beginning of the night. Non-title match, CM Punk versus The Big Show. Show's power versus Punk's quicker, faster striking ability, etc., etc., etc. Show choking Punk over the ropes, standing on his head, Punk working over the legs, working over the midsection. Show works over CM Punk's arm for some reason, I really don't know. Punk hits the high knee, Big Show gets a good spear. I will admit, even though I had my little rant about other people using the spear, was it like last week or the week before? Big Show does it, and it really does look like a destroyer of worlds, doesn't it? At that point, we're interrupted by Daniel Bryan running down the ramp, shouting no, shouting at the announcers he deserves to be in the triple threat match at I did it again, guys. I can speak, I swear. I'm gonna get the t-shirt made. Moving on. SummerSlam. He says he deserves to be in the triple threat match at SummerSlam. There we go. Gets into the ring, locks in the no lock on CM Punk, and gets the disqualification. Punk beats Big Show by disqualification. They double team Show, and Daniel Bryan double team CM Punk. I'm tired, guys. It's like 1 a.m. Moving on. Who comes in for the save? Now let's think about this logically for a second. I'm not going to turn it into a rant on this specific person, but let's look at the sense of this. Two heels double teaming a heel. Who comes out to make the save? Oh, John Cena. Nah, I'm more important than everybody. AJ comes out, announces the obvious match that's going to happen later on. Tonight, Daniel Bryan and The Big Show versus Punk and Cena. We go to the back. We see JTG, number 1, and Caitlyn, number 2, on Raw. Makes me a happy boy. JTG complaining that even with a 3-hour Raw, he still can't get a match. He's, you know, what's going on? I can't believe this. This shit is crazy. And as soon as he says crazy, you know who's going to be standing out behind him. Oh, yes, it is AJ Lee. And she said, are you calling me crazy? No. So the situation is crazy. The situation is crazy. He's like, okay, you want a match? You got a match tonight. And then he leaves. He's all happy. Thank you, da-da-da-da. Asks Caitlyn if she's crazy, and Caitlyn responds with, there's a lot of words I would use to describe you, but no, I won't say crazy. JTG, after the break, goes down to the ring, and predictably, AJ Lee happens to pick Ryback. This was funny. I mean, I'm a JTG fan, and JTG got squashed in this match. The funniest thing for me was the banter, really, between these two guys, the trash talk as they were fighting. It's like JTG would try something and fail. Ryback would be like, okay, my turn. You know, JTG yelling at him that he better not get pink eye, which is amazing, because the whole Ryback pink eye thing is kind of gross, if you ask me. Ryback has new music, which sounds cool. It sounds like they've done what they do with everybody. Like, I'll compare it to Batista when they went from his generic instrumental to I Walk Alone by Saliva. That was basically the same thing. It sounds like they've done that, except they've got him just awkwardly voiced over with the Feed Me More chants, and that alone sounds awkward. If I make a retarded face, it's because I know I'm going to sneeze. It just hasn't happened yet. Moving on. It's announced that later on tonight that Roddy Piper is in the building, and the Raw active question of the night is, who do you want to see in Piper's pit? Miz, Dolph Ziggler, or Jericho? Not bad. And other people are raging about this, thinking it was a horrible thing. I stay by what I said before. It's one little interactive question in a whole 3-hour show. It's still not that intrusive to me, really. I mean, if you have a very, very... actually, I'll make this a question if you want to get... Spaz active. Put your comments down in the question below if you have a strong opinion one way or another about the whole Raw active concept, because I don't think it's doing anything bad at all. We go to break, and this is something that I got, but people that don't live in Canada might not have gotten. In between the commercial breaks here in Canada, on The Score, which is the sports station here in Canada that plays WWE, Ardo Cal does little talking bits talking about, you know, Aftermath, which is their sort of post-show, and talking about a couple of other things. And he announces to the Canadian watchers and listeners that Booker T has canceled the Del Rio Sheamus match, and asks all of us here in Canada to email or tweet the score as to what we think about that, etc., etc., etc. But I think it's funny that he did that before it was actually announced on the show. So the only other people that knew about it were the people that had actually been on WWE.com that day. I can speak. I swear. In fact, people, anybody out there, I know more than one person has suggested it, that I should actually, in fact, get a I Can Speak, I Swear shirt made. If anybody out there has any design credibility at all, and you want to, like, design me one or tell me what I think should be on it or anything cool and creative like that, send your suggestions, send your whatever to the.alternate@live.com. If you send me one and I like it, I might turn it into a t-shirt, and you might see it on this channel. There we go. We get announced Antonio Cesaro is going to face Santino Marella on the SummerSlam pre-show, because the US title is the pre-show belt, really, isn't it? Piper and Shawn Michaels are in the back talking about Brock Lesnar. Shawn Michaels gets a phone call from Triple H saying Triple H is not in the arena yet. He's caught in traffic, he's caught in flight, whatever. Nothing really much to speak about in this segment. Heath Slater versus R-Truth, and they announced that Kofi Kingston is away on tour in the Middle East. R-Truth is there by himself, so you knew it was going to happen. It was a good, quick match. The Little Jimmy's Revenge move that R-Truth does gets the victory on Heath Slater. I continue to feel bad for Heath Slater, because I'm actually starting to like Heath Slater. He's becoming sort of like the lovable jobber character, the sympathetic heel, I guess. Truth gets the win. Primetime Players beat him down after the match with nobody else coming down. It's not like... Okay, his partner's not there, but he's a face, and there's a whole lot of other faces in the back that usually come out for segments like this. You know, you'd get a Santino Marella or a Brodus Clay, God forgive. Nobody came out in this, so he just got his ass handed to him by the Primetime Players, absent AW. You want to get my thoughts on that, as well as John and Preston, who did the collab with me. Go back one video. We gave you our thoughts on the whole AW situation. Moving on. We go to a video package of Mark Henry's touts from the Olympics. I liked this. It was short. It was sweet. It made sense. Mark Henry being a former Olympian. It did a lot. It meant that WWE had presence at the Olympics, which is great. It means that the WWE is acknowledging the Olympics back, and it reminded everybody that, hey, Mark Henry still exists, because he hasn't been on WWE programming in a long, long time, has he? We have a recap of Sheamus versus Del Rio from SmackDown and the beatdown that happened in the Fate Cups and all that sort of nonsense. And then we see the WWE.com exclusive of Booker T canceling the match. It's announced that Alberto Del Rio is going to confront Booker T this Friday on SmackDown. My prediction, he's going to do something to Booker T and he's going to weasel his way back into the match. Or Orton. Come on now. Give us Orton. Orton. If you're not going to give us Del Rio, give us Orton. Orton. Especially when we see who else just randomly got handed a match this Sunday, and I'll get to that later on. Sin Cara versus Lord Tensai. Sin Cara looked as good as he possibly can. Tensai looked like a completely awkward goof, and Sin Cara gets the win. Tensai beats down Sakamoto after the match, and life goes on. Really don't know what that match did for anybody, and I'm a Sin Cara fan. Piper's Pit. Obviously the one that was chosen was Jericho. He's the only face in the whole bunch. They come in, they joke around about a couple of WrestleManias ago when they faced each other, and Mickey Rourke knocked your lights out, and da-da-da-da-da. Basically, Piper tries to get him riled up about his match with Ziggler on Sunday. Says, you gotta go prove that you can still win the big one. Vicky and Dolph come down. Dolph runs down Piper. Piper, you've been doing the same shtick for 20 years. You've been doing this too long. It's just sad. Jericho, you're gonna end up like Piper one day. Make sure you don't. Miz comes out, and this is what I like, because Miz has nothing to do with Jericho and Ziggler, but Miz was voted out again from the Raw Active. So WWE, once again, trying to tell all of you that you don't like The Miz. Now, if you actually, hand on heart, don't like The Miz, then that's fine. Then you're going to say, well, duh, WWE, no, I don't like The Miz. But a lot of people do. A lot of people do. When he came back at Money in the Bank, when he was the surprise, when he came out at the beginning of the night to surprise everybody with the fact that he was back, he got a big pop before he started talking and, you know, healing it up. Me and Ziggler might not agree on everything. We might not even like each other that much, but at least we can win the big one. You know, I'm the Intercontinental Champion. I won it on the Raw 1000, and Ziggler won his match at Money in the Bank. And it's about time that we took over Piper's Pit. Jericho takes out both Dolph Ziggler and The Miz, and we go to break. We come back from break. We hear that Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz versus Jericho triple threat match was made by AJ Lee during the commercial break. And what was also made during the commercial break, which I'm not going to get into in this video because this deserves its own video, out of nowhere, Rey Mysterio has a shot at the Intercontinental Championship. Rey Mysterio, who had nothing to do with this situation, who wasn't even on Raw, and I'm saving it because I'm going to do a separate video on the topic, but Rey Mysterio and The Miz at SummerSlam for the Intercontinental Championship, I do not see good things in the future. Anyways, the match goes on as you would expect. Dolph Ziggler and The Miz double-team Jericho. Eventually, egos clash. Jericho takes over. Jericho locks in the walls of Jericho on The Miz. Ziggler takes that as an opportunity to hit a nice-looking zigzag. Ziggler gets the win. Ziggler picks up some momentum, because heels hardly ever get to do that these days, against Jericho going into SummerSlam. Liked this match a lot. I didn't write a lot of notes about it because I was watching it. Guys, I have to say this because people ask me why I do certain things certain ways. Why do I put more attention on this and less attention on this? The less information, because I have this in front of me, you know, the Doomy Clipboard of Doom that I've had since I started this channel. I have it in front of me every time I watch Raw. The less I write about the match, the less details you hear from me. In most cases, the less details you hear from me in this review, the more I was actually, you know, penned down watching the match. So the fact that I only wrote down one or two moves from this match means I really, really enjoyed it. We go to the back. Eve talking to Punk, basically congratulations on the new you know, cryptically saying, you know, congratulations on turning heel. Punk corrects her. He says, I'm still the same guy. I'm still the same guy I've always been. I'm just fighting for respect. Layla and Kaitlyn versus Eve and Beth Phoenix. I like this combination of divas. I like this. We had the champion in there. We had Eve, who's been a backstage character for a while. You got Beth Phoenix, who can go any day of the week. And you have Kaitlyn, who is one of the main reasons I watch NXT, finally getting her main buy on Raw. I like it a lot. And there was no Kelly Kelly. 5 points right there. You know, they were building towards the Kaitlyn versus Eve match that's going to happen this Friday on SmackDown for the, you know, assistant job to Booker T, the general manager of SmackDown. So they were building towards that. All 4 women in this match look great. Yes, I will admit, there were some botches in this match, and I'm not going to say there weren't. But it's better than just stupid, blonde, Barbie doll, bimbo, hair-pulling, screaming bullshit. Moving on. Something I do really... okay, first of all, Beth had a great there we go again. I can speak. I swear. Somebody send me a design. I'm going to get the t-shirt made. Beth Phoenix had a great overhead backbreaker on Kaitlyn. There we go. It's not even a tongue twister. I shouldn't have that much trouble with it. Which leads me to believe, somewhere along the way, if they're actually going to push Kaitlyn, and the way they were talking about her tonight, they were really emphasizing her power, I would really love to see a drawn-out rivalry between Beth Phoenix and Kaitlyn at some point. Kaitlyn rolls up Beth for the quick win, and Kaitlyn and Layla are your winners. Makes logical sense. Kaitlyn needs to look good going into SmackDown. Layla needs to look good because, in case you've forgotten, she's still the Divas Champion, for anybody that's still keeping track. Punk and Cena versus Show and Bryan. Beginning of the match, the two tag teams told a very different story. Punk told Cena to start, and then tapped him on the back and tagged himself in, just being a bit of a smartass. Whereas Bryan, you know, face to face with the Big Show, who's supposed to be his partner and who's begging to be tagged into the match, is no-chanting his own partner. We get a lot of great sort of rehash stuff from Punk versus Bryan that we've seen in the past couple of months. That's always great. Cena and Punk basically use Daniel Bryan as a punching bag, unfortunately, in this match. Cena uses a bunch of Punk's signature offense with the high knee and the bulldog and all that sort of thing. Punk, in true form, does the whole Cena 5 moves of doom, goes for the 5-knuckle shuffle, and it gets cut off by Cena, etc., etc., etc. Eventually, Show gets sick of Daniel Bryan and deserts him. Punk deserts Cena, and at that point, Cena just Supermans over Bryan, and Cena and Punk get the win because, you know, Daniel Bryan's never going to get any respect in the same ring as John Cena, is he? And because John Cena's John Cena. After the match, Big Show tries to take out John Cena again, and Punk, of all people, saves Cena with a belt shot to the head to the Big Show. And then he tries to shake Cena's hand. Cena, who's supposed to be, you know, rise above hate, babyface, superstar, golden god guy, is the one that turns down the handshake. Now, that entire segment, and yes, I'm saying this about a segment that includes Cena, was very cool, very well played out. The irony of them stealing each other's moves was great. The game of one-upsmanship and can you top this was great. And the entire ending sequence with Cena not really knowing what to do after Punk saved his ass, it all played out quite well. In my personal opinion. Christian versus Sandow is announced as the next match, and I'm wondering why are they wasting a great talent like Christian on Sandow. Christian punks out Sandow for most of this match until Christian eats steps on the outside. Brodus Clay distracts Damian Sandow up on the ramp. Christian tries for a quick roll-up and fails, and Sandow hits that lame-ass, I'm gonna make you hug yourself fucking neckbreaker and gets the win because he's the new guy, he's kissing ass in the back, and he gets all the wins recently, apparently. And then we get the contract signing, which was interesting in and of itself. Basically, Heyman came out with Brock Lesnar running down Triple H. Shawn Michaels comes down to sort of confront them, even though he's been acting cowardice to Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman all night, which I didn't like. Shawn Michaels should not be playing a coward. He's a fucking legend and a Hall of Famer. Moving on, Triple H comes down, and Lesnar and Heyman basically leave, making Lesnar and Heyman look like bitches and whatever, and I'm thinking if that's the end of the night, then I'm very, very disappointed. But if I want to be disappointed, I should just hold on brief seconds. We go to the back. We see Shawn Michaels trying to leave out of the parking lot. He's cut off by Paul Heyman. He can't get out because Paul Heyman's car's in the way. And Brock Lesnar basically comes up the side of his car, chokes him out, takes him out. The camera's cut to black, and we have a whole bunch of sounds in the dark. And we have the lights come back on, or, you know, the camera come back on, and we see the car is all smashed up. The windows are smashed out. Triple H is looking very upset. AJ's trying to tell him what goes on, and we go to break. We come back from break, and Brock Lesnar is carrying a lifeless Shawn Michaels to the ring, lays him down in the middle of the rampway, and F5s him. Triple H comes down to, you know, save his buddy. Paul Heyman, I like what Paul Heyman did in here, because he made sure the focus stayed on the action in the ring by being on the outside while he talked to Triple H. I thought it was very, very cool, because it meant, especially for the people in the arena, that the focus was on Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar locked in the Kimura lock on Shawn Michaels, and he says, Triple H, if you come anywhere near this ring, please don't come anywhere near this ring, because, you know, Brock Lesnar will break his arm, and you know what that's like, and whatever. And then he does it anyway. And then Heyman and Lesnar run away again. Triple H tends to Shawn Michaels, and that's how we leave the show. Now, does it drive the storyline forward that he just disabled Triple H's best friend? Absolutely. Why is somebody as supposedly dominant as Brock Lesnar, who completely came in and destroyed the Golden Boy, being such a pussy and running away and hiding behind Heyman, other than the fact that, you know, he has no mic skills and Heyman does? I don't know. This match should be good. My give a shit leading up to this match is dwindling, guys. And I have to separate that out because, as I've said, I'm a fan of Triple H. I'm intrigued by the idea of these two going at it in the ring. I have no doubt that whatever they do, whether it's a, you know, regular street fight or, you know, no holds barred or whatever they want to do, I have no doubt that it'll be great. I have no doubt that it'll be better than Lesnar versus Cena at Extreme Rules. But the lead up to it doesn't make me give a damn, because Lesnar hasn't laid a hand on Triple H. If he wanted to be dominant, he needed to get at least, even if it was just a cheap shot, even if it was just a shot from behind, he needed to make some physical contact with Triple H before this match for me to care. If that's fair, tell me yes or no in the box below. Now, I actually got through that a lot faster than I thought I would. But we still have, oh yes, Score, Fail, MVP, and the Fave 5. Score. Starting with a match. Starting Raw with a match instead of a segment is something that happens so little these days that when it does, you sit up and take notice. You're excited right from the word go. It sets you up to watch the rest of the show. I like that. Even though it ended up just being a segment, even though it ended up being like a bullshit ending and whatever, and I do understand how people would be frustrated by that, the starting the show, watching a match, does get you going a lot faster than watching people talk, even if those people are Paul Heyman, Jim Ross, CM Punk, The Rock, whoever, anybody that's, you know, not Cena. Moving on. JTG on Raw. I'm sorry, I'm pretty much the only one left, but you know what? JTG, I've always been a fan of. I find the guy entertaining. Is he going to be world champ tomorrow? Absolutely not, and even I will say that, but come on. The guy is more entertaining and better in the ring than some of the ones we get shoved down our throats every week, and each and every one of you has to admit that. If you can tell me that you'd rather see Santino than JTG, if you can tell me that you'd rather see fucking Brodus Clay than JTG, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to put you down. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions, but if you're honestly going to tell me that, I really don't know what else to say. We are going to have a new United States champion at SummerSlam. We better. Like, at this point, if we don't, I got nothing. New tag champs, too. I mean, primetime players. My only worry with the primetime players is without AW now, are they going to lose a lot of steam? Because a lot of their identity did come from the good talking that AW did, even though he, you know, talked himself right out of a job. Moving on. Piper's Pit, the entire segment and the match that followed. Everybody in the match, everybody in the segment, from Piper to Jericho to Miz to Dolph to Vicky, everybody did their part. It all came together quite well. They're all great on the mic, etc., etc., etc. Yes, even the Miz, for you haters out there. Moving on. The match that followed was what you would expect from three great talents, and there's nothing bad to say about it. WWE having a recorded presence at the Olympics makes me a happy kid. That's all I'm going to say about that. SmackDown getting replay on Raw, which usually doesn't happen, also makes me a happy kid. Everybody complains that SmackDown is the replays of Raw show. Now, to get SmackDown, which admittedly is the weaker show, whether the fans of SmackDown want to admit it or not, some exposure on Raw, some replay on Raw, will encourage people to go watch SmackDown on Friday. What did we have tonight? Or what did we have announced tonight that could make people watch SmackDown that usually don't? Is Alberto Del Rio going to get his title match back? Is Caitlyn or Eve going to be Booker T's next assistant? I mean, we have it's not a huge deal, but it's a Divas match that actually has some hype around it. When was the last time we saw that? Speaking of the Divas, the Tag Team Divas match tonight was great. Not, oh my god, this should main event a pay-per-view great, but it was a great match. Better than we've seen in the last little while. Better than the blonde bimbo bitch Kelly would give us, for sure. For sure. Fail. Cena playing the hero again in an entire ring full of heels. Why? The voiceovers in Ryback's new music, could do without it. Alberto losing his title shot at SummerSlam. Every time, except for this past month, every time they've announced Sheamus versus Alberto Del Rio, it's turned into a triple threat match, or he's lost it completely, or it's gotten turned into a fatal four-way, or it's been watered down. Please, 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 WWE, the guy knows what the fuck he's doing. Put some decent steam behind it, put some decent hype behind it, and get the goddamn belt off Sheamus. Please. Moving on. Sin Cara versus Tensai. I really didn't care. The announcement of Rey versus The Miz at SummerSlam this Sunday. I'm not going to get into it like I said. Like I said, at some point this week, before we get to SummerSlam, I am going to do a video on why I don't like this match. Please stay tuned. Certain people out there are going to hate me, and for that I'm sorry, but at the same time I'm not. Moving on. Bryan gets buried again. As soon as the Big Show and CM Punk are not in the equation anymore, John Cena basically laughs and tosses Bryan across the ring for the win. He's getting play in the main event with John Cena, with all the big players, but he's the joke. He really, really is. And I don't say that I think Daniel Bryan is a joke. I say WWE is playing him off like a joke in this sense. They're playing him off the way they played off The Miz when The Miz was the third wheel in the whole Cena versus Rock feud. It's not because I don't believe in the talent. I think that the WWE is booking as if they don't believe in the talent. Moving on. Moving on to the Fave 5. CM Punk beat Big Show by disqualification at the beginning of the night and is on the winning end of the tag team match at the sort of end of the night. So he had a good night. Rhodes wasn't on Raw. Doesn't happen. Miz lost the triple threat. But he lost because Ziggler won the triple threat. So that's okay. Orton wasn't on the show tonight, which is very intriguing, which means he may not be at SummerSlam. Unless we get Sheamus versus Orton at SummerSlam, or Sheamus versus Orton versus Alberto Del Rio at SummerSlam. Won't mind that a bit, but I don't think they're going to give us 2 triple threat main event title matches at the same pay-per-view at the same time. Whatever. Overall, except for Miz versus Ray, which I'm going to get into later this week, I am really, really looking forward to SummerSlam, guys. Lesnar versus Triple H, once we get to the actual match, will be great. Triple threat WWE title match. Punk will drag the other two to a good match. Primetime players, I hope, are going to be the new tag team champions. What the hell is his name? Because I'm just that special. Antonio Cesaro better be the new U.S. champion. Miz versus Ray will be what it'll be. Jericho versus Ziggler is the sleeper. It is going to be the match of the night, and if you don't realize that, then once again, I don't know what to tell you. And just to piss off everybody else out there, my MVP for the Go Home Raw to SummerSlam is none other than the man that blew up WWE on Twitter and finally got himself onto Raw. JTG is the MVP. Oh yes! I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep this conversation going. What are you looking forward to at SummerSlam? Don't be a stranger, and I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, tag it out, guys. Bye. Wow!